Today's episode of Morning Coffee with Cameron is brought to you by me. I am the sponsor now. Did you know that I have a really awesome patron community that you can join to get exclusive Vital presets, sample packs, music, and behind-the-scenes content, and even project files and presets from my videos? Well, I do, and I think it's pretty cool. If you want to join up, you can use the link in the description, and it's by far the best way to support the channel so I can make more videos like this one. All right. Howdy doody, Buckaroonies, and welcome back to another episode of Why Do You Overdub Your Voice? Today, we're here for another free plugin roundup video. I always love doing these. Last time, though, I started things off with a bit of an intro gag that really ended up triggering somebody, so I wanted to forego that this time around, and as a peace offering, I guess I would like to give them a little bit of these nuts. Got him! So, today, another free plugin roundup video, but this time with a twist. In this video, I wanted to share with you 5 of the more interesting and exotic free plugins that I know about, because personally, I always find stuff like this a bit more inspiring than just more of the standard affair. As always, all the plugins are linked down in the description below. They're available for both Mac and PC. One of them is available for Linux as well, so that's great. And of course, please, please, please go out and support these developers in any way you can so that they can give us more cool free stuff. So, as the kids say, is skit? I don't know what the f that means, but let's go. With that oh so spicy intro out of the way, I would like to impose Zen upon the rest of this video. First up on my list for you to check out today is Driftmaker from Pure Magnetic. Pure Magnetic make quite a few plugins, several of them free and all of them very affordable. All of their paid plugins, or at least the majority of them, I believe, are under $10 US, which is great to see. Pure Magnetic's catalog tends to skew more into the ambient and abstract side of music, heavily influenced by things like tape music, ambient, and drone, so their plugins definitely skew into that territory, but they are very interesting, and most of them are actually extremely unique, and there's not really anything else out there quite like them. Driftmaker is one of the free plugins. They do have a few to check out. However, I will say that I couldn't get all of them working in Bitwig, and I couldn't get all of them working in Cubase, so take them with a grain of salt and your mileage may vary, but for the ones that you can get to work, they are quite interesting. So Driftmaker here is like a destroyed delay is the best way I can think to describe it. It records audio in chunks, holds them in a buffer, and plays them back pretty chaotically. It's sort of like tape music and micro sampling particle delays, but it's not quite. There are some weird glitches and things that happen that are more digital than they are analog, and I'm not sure if that's intentional or maybe a bug or just a weird side effect of this plugin. However, in a way, that's also part of the charm of it, in that you never know quite what you're gonna get out of it. There's only a handful of controls on the plugin here. We have parse, chop, time, drift, and blend. These are all listed here at the top of the plugin and tells you what they do, except for gain, but gain is gain, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory. There are also some presets down here at the bottom. These are very usable and give you a good sense of what Pure Magnetic can offer, and it's a very fun and very weird plugin, and I really enjoy stuff like that. Driftmaker is very well suited to melodic material, things like guitars, pianos, vocals, synths, pads, or whatever, but you can toss it on drum loops or other things to create interesting one-shots, or just kind of use it for a resampling session to see what you get out of it and build up a unique sample library of stuff for yourself. So let's hear what this thing sounds like. Next up, we have Emergence from Daniel Gurgley. I have no idea how to pronounce that, and I'm so sorry. But this is one of the coolest free plugins I found lately because it does something I've been looking for ages. This was also brought to my attention by Arcan from my Discord, so shout out to Arcan, you're a legend. Emergence here is a 4 playhead granular effect. So every playhead has the same controls here. On the master, we have the input, the feedback amount, which holds a certain percentage of information in the buffer, allowing you to create something very similar to a grain delay, the overall buffer size, or the recording head length, basically, the maximum grain count, the volume for the dry input, the volume for what is in the buffer, and the volume for the granulator. There are 4 streams, and you can enable or disable any of the streams by clicking the toggle. We have the increment, which is how fast the playhead is going, and this can also be in reverse, so you could have some going forward, some going back, some going fast, some going slow. We have the time, which is how often new grains come up. This is all also listed on the bottom of the UI, which is great. The pitch for the grains, you can also quantize the grains, the percentage of grains that will be reversed, the length of the grains, the balance of the grains, which channel is going to be sampled. So if you have stereo information, that can be useful. We could pan out that playhead and control that playhead's volume as well. All of these controls apply for all 4 grain streams. Down at the bottom of the plugin here, we have the modulation section, which is one of the best things about this plugin. It makes it so powerful and so much fun. We have 4 LFOs with a frequency and shape control for each, 4 macros, and 2 randomizers. To assign modulation, we can click something like the LFO here, and then click in the center to adjust the amount of modulation to that individual parameter, and pretty much everything can be modulated. So if we start bringing all these in here, we could have LFO2 target this one, LFO3, and LFO4. Let's get the randomizers going. Do something like that. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. And I think you get the idea. Now we've got modulation assigned to all these things. The modulation is visible, which is fantastic. It makes it so easy to understand what's happening and why. And if we slow things down here and take a better look up at the playhead, all of the modulation and everything else happening in this plugin is visualized in the oscilloscope with the playheads and grains visible. This is a fantastically visual plugin, and I always love that. Emergence here is amazing for ambient music, melodies, vocals, guitars, all the standard stuff. It's also great for drums and percussion loops or creating weird one-shots because granular stuff is just so much fun. And the fact that it includes the feedback control turns it into a grain delay alternative for the price of totally free. You can get shimmering effects. You can do so much with this plugin. It's totally a must download. If you see this video and get nothing else, go get this plugin. Next up, one of my other favorite plugins on this list for a different reason is Fogpad from Igorski. I believe that's how you say that. Again, so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I went to public school. Fogpad is, I don't know, it's a reverb that is absolutely weird. The, I guess, idea behind it, if you watch the video, is that memory is a funny thing, and that's kind of exactly what Fogpad does. A reverb works with a series of delays and other things and passing it back through itself to create a pseudo-acoustic space. And Fogpad just manipulates everything in that, I'm assuming. It's also fully open source, which is fantastic, and Igorski makes some other open source plugins as well that are worth checking out. I just wanted to share this one in particular because the sounds you get out of it are really unlike anything else. This is by far one of the weirdest reverb plugins I know of, and one of the weirdest reverb plugins I have ever heard. It's more of a sound design tool than it is a musical tool, so it's really worth checking out and running stuff through and getting some unique sounds out of, but it's also kind of chaotic and you never quite know what you're gonna get. But again, I always find stuff like that to be a bit more interesting. The controls on Fogpad are pretty abstract. They don't necessarily tell you what they do, so that's part of the charm of it, I think. You don't really know what these things do, but you can hear it. And I think that's a great way to approach a plugin like this. It's more about discovery than it is intentionally doing something. There's also controls to freeze the reverb. We can swap the bother with pre and post with the checkbox here, and we have a dry and wet control. That's really it. It's a super cool plugin. Let's hear it. Next up is PSP's PianoVerb, and I'm pretty confident in saying there is no other plugin out there that does what this plugin does, so that's pretty cool considering that it's free. PianoVerb here is a unique reverb plugin that's based around an old studio trick where we would take a large piano, typically a grand piano, place a brick or something heavy on the sustain pedal, and then play something very loudly in the room so that the piano strings sympathetically resonate with whatever is happening in the room to create a very weird sort of reverb. You would also, in some cases, hold down a chord on the piano without playing it so that the reverb was tuned to whatever key the song was in with whatever was happening. It's a really unique sound, and there's not anything out there quite like it. PianoVerb aims to replicate this behavior, but it doesn't allow you to tune the reverb. However, perhaps in a future update, they'll add something like that. PianoVerb here is very straightforward. It has the same engine as the paid PianoVerb 2, just with less fine control. So we have a decay time here, which is the overall decay time, or how long the strings will sustain for the reverb effect. Transpose, which tunes everything up or down. Again, this isn't based on a musical note, but just sort of shifts the tone to be like the brighter strings or the lower strings. Damping, which dampens the reverb effect, so this just rolls off the high end and all that. Tune, which is a fine tuning control. Detune, which adds detuning to the individual strings of the reverb, allowing you to get a more atonal and chaotic effect, which can be nice on more percussive elements. A master mix knob, a master bypass button, and an output. PianoVerb is great for guitars, vocals, and everything else. It's a lot of fun on drums. It can be a really cool effect on snares, and it's also great for sound design if you want to maybe add a sort of metallic atmosphere to an impact sound or anything like that. This plugin is really, really good at that. And again, there's nothing else out there that I'm aware of that does this. So it's pretty cool and definitely worth owning if you're looking for something with a bit more charm and character to it. Last but certainly not least, we have ChowMatrix from the one and only ChowDSP. ChowDSP is also the same person behind ChowTape, which is by far one of the best tape plugins out there, I think altogether free or paid, which is also totally free. ChowMatrix and all the other Chow plugins are completely open source as well, which is just fantastic, and this one also runs on Linux, so bonus points for that. ChowMatrix is a delay where you create your own delay. There's really not anything out there quite like it, and it's a whole lot of fun. ChowMatrix works with these nodes. You can click a node, grab and move it around, we can pan it left or right, and we can change the time by changing the length between the nodes. To add a new node, we can move over and shift click and add a node from any other node, and this goes on forever and ever. You can even have multiple nodes branching off of a single node and control all of these parameters for each individual node. So we have the delay time, the panning, the feedback amount, and remember this is per node, the gain amount for that node, low pass and high pass filters, and even pitch. So you could pitch some up and some down or some very slightly to create these massive networks of delays, and there are two master heads to pull from. These delays can be synced or unsynced. If we go down to the bottom, you can click on free to change between free mode and synced mode to sync the delay tabs to musical interval values. We can also clear the entire buffer. We have different modes for the insanity, which adds movement and instability, which is also visualized here in the plugin, which is fantastic. So these different modes can offer just a bit of different flavor to the movement and how it sounds. And we have the dry and wet control. We also have A/B controls, randomized controls, and a couple of presets down along the bottom. ChowMatrix is incredibly powerful when it comes to the world of delay, and I hope to see it expanded in the future, and I can't wait to see what Chow does next. You can even push this so far as to create weird kind of primitive reverbs by adding just insane delay networks. It's a whole bunch of fun and absolutely something to try out. So let's hear it in action. And that is a roundup of some of my favorite free and weird plugins out there. If you know some more free plugins that are weird and wild and wacky that everyone should know about, feel free to share those down in the comments below. And of course, as always, please go support these developers in any way you can. And a huge, huge Buckaroony thank you to all the developers of these plugins. It is always amazing to see such incredibly high quality tools available and accessible to everyone to get out there and create with. I absolutely love that, and I can't wait to see what you developers make in the future. And that's my time here today. If you make something cool with any of these plugins, I would love to hear it. Be sure to share it with me on social media or the Discord. I always love to hear what you're out there creating, and we're done. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And as always, I hope this inspires you to get out there and make something awesome.